Good morning. And on that note, this is a good time to put your mobile device in worship mode. My name is Peter Horton. I've been a member of UUCD for the last 6 years, and I was a member for 7 years back in the 1980s. As your average spiritual guy, I have found many avenues to explore and express who I am and what my spiritual and community journey might be. I am currently serving on the Board of Trustees and am a member of the UUCD choir ever since Jerry came to be our music director. And as most of you know, I've been the stewardship lead for the past couple of years. I often think of congregations as having saviors, shepherds, and stewards. Saviors are that mythological person that unhealthy congregations think will come and save them from whatever ails them, most likely themselves. A shepherd is just that, someone, a minister or a member, who with goodwill and good faith helps guide a congregation in its mission. Stewards are caretakers of the congregation who have a forward vision. Stewards not only protect, but help their congregation to improve and grow. UUCD is in the enviable position to have a few good shepherds and quite a few excellent stewards. It's unique for a congregation such as ours to be so rich with both. Thank you to those of you who are shepherds and stewards. If you're new to our community and joining us online, we invite you to introduce yourself and where you are connecting from in the chat box as you are comfortable if you're online. At the conclusion of today's service, you will have a chance to participate in a breakout group for individual connections and deeper check-ins. If you are new and here in person, please fill out a visitor card at the table near the exit before you leave today, and consider staying a few minutes after the service for coffee and conversation. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. And we have a couple of announcements. One is this Wednesday's community dinner. Still slots are open. Please go online, click, make your reservation, and we will have a wonderful time. The other is our workshop coming up on the 12th.
Yep, next Sunday.
So the little piece about good stewards, folks, this is not about RE. This is about the future of our congregation, and RE is a component of the future of our congregation. It doesn't matter whether you are 85 or whether you are 19. This is a conversation where stewards of this congregation come together with a vision towards our future and participate in that conversation and start to explore ideas. I will tell you right now, there's no answer when we come to this. There's no end game to say, great, here's what we're going to do. It's an open conversation to explore ideas. And again, I emphasize, if you're a good steward, you should be there. Thank you.
Good morning again. Oh, that was kind of slow. And are we awake yet? Good morning again. All right, as I'm trying to get you ready for the stories that are coming up, because we're going to need your participation there. It's good for us to be together. Peter, thank you for that welcome and those reminders. And the only other, I would just like to remind you that once again, you have an opportunity to spend a good portion of your day with UUCD, because this afternoon, go home, go do whatever you need to do, and then come back and be filled with the beauty of music from Nancy?
Betty and the Baby Boomers.
Betty and the Baby Boomers. And I heard her last name really is Boomer. So that's where the name. But you're going to want to come and do that. And how great that we are able to not just come on Sunday and then we shut the doors and we never see each other again for a week. We have so many things that go on here during the week and even on Sunday afternoons once a month. So be sure to check that out. And while you're doing that, you might just want to find out who else is coming this afternoon to the concert. Who's coming to the community dinner? Who has RSVP'd for the workshop? We're going to do that by greeting one another. And we'll first say hello online. We are so glad that you are with us today. You're an important part of this service. We hope you might be able to come to the concert and also to the workshop and community dinner. But let's take a moment, say hello to one another, see who's coming to what. Do we know who's coming this afternoon? Did you find out? Great, good. And I do hope to see you at the community dinner. It'll be great for us to be together and break bread together. But now let's rise in body or spirit and let us sing our hymn of welcome. It's number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. The words will be on the screen, so I'm hoping you don't have to hang on to this hymnal for very long. But let's lift our voices in song. Enter, rejoice, and come in. That was wonderful. I'd like to invite our service coordinator, Sally Mandler, to come. She will be leading us in our chalice lighting words, and our director of religious education, Sierra Marie, will come and introduce our chalice lighters this morning.
So this morning we'll have Marjorie Kaplan lighting our chalice. She has been coming since she was a year and a half old to this congregation and participating in all the various ways. And today she will be selling Girl Scout cookies with her sister during the coffee hour.
Join me, please. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life.
Okay, it's good to be together. Do you want to come up with me, Edie, to lead this? We're going to do our children's affirmation this morning together. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other.
Thank you for helping with that. So I asked Sierra Marie, could I please tell the story this morning? Because it's one of my favorite stories. And I did tell this when I first came here to serve you almost 2 years ago. I can't believe it's almost 2 years. So some of you may remember it, but I believe we were only online at that time. And it is a picture book, but I'm not going to show you the pictures because I'd like for you to just imagine what I am saying, but you need your eyes open. So it's going to be a little tricky. Imagine what I'm saying, but keep your eyes open, because every time I do this, I need you to shout. I did say shout the word nonsense. So we might just try it and see. You were a little slow. So, we might just give it another little try. Excellent. I mean, how often do you get to just shout, in when you're in the congregation? And online, we may not hear you, but we know that you're shouting along too. So remember, every time. Oh boy, we better practice that again. Okay, I think you've got it now. So this will prepare us for our story later, when you will also have a chance to make some noise. So what would you say if dogs grew on trees, if rhinos could fly, and chickens laid cheese? And what would you say to a bat with a hat? I mean, what would you say about that? Of course, that's what you'd say, because it's an excellent word when you know something is really absurd. But tell me, what would you say if mice lived on stars, and if rabbits read books, and birds played guitars? And what would you say if goldfish grew peas? What would your answer be, please? Of course. That's what you would say, because it's a good word to know when you're sure something isn't so. Now, what would you say one last time if pigs sewed quilts, and if turtles gave high teas, and if fish walked on stilts? And what would you say if you saw a camel in the snow right here in Danbury? I mean, what would you say? Do you know? I'm sorry, what? That's what you'd say, of course, because that's the word to declare when you know something is false or you know something is unfair. So I want to ask you what you will say if you are ever told that you're not good enough, you're too dim, or you're way too bold, you're not very special, you're strange, you are too shy. What will you say in reply? I mean, will you sniffle? Will you sigh? Will you assume, well, they must be right? Or will you kick? Will you cry? Perhaps you'll pick a fight. No, of course not. Instead, you're going to know just what to do when you hear something that is completely untrue. Nonsense. That's what you're going to say. Nonsense. Shout it loud. Nonsense. Shout it far. Nonsense. Because only you can decide who you are. And this ends the story. Jerry is going to play as we just kind of come out of this nonsense and loudness and breathe. We breathe and we prepare our hearts for our shared milestones together. Sally will come forward because she will read the milestones that those of you online would like to share with us in just a moment. So I'm going to ask you to prepare to type your milestones in the chat. But we will begin, as we do, as is our tradition, with a time of silent milestones, because we recognize that not every milestone, not every great joy, and certainly not every deep sorrow or concern is something we're ready to share aloud. But we've brought it in here. It came right through the doors. It's sitting in this room with us. And we acknowledge that, because that's what it means to be in beloved community. So I invite you to listen to the soft music, search your heart. Is there a milestone that you wish to acknowledge today in silence? You may come forward and drop a stone in the bowl, and then we will move into spoken milestones.
We'll continue to hold in loving tenderness all that is spoken and unspoken. And we'll be moving in a few minutes into a silent meditation. But before we do that, I've brought a body prayer to share with you this morning. And it's always invitational. You are welcome to practice the body prayer or not in the ways that are comfortable for you. This comes or is inspired by some of the communities following Julian of Norwich's mystical teachings. And there are 4 words that we'll meditate on in this body prayer. And each word has a motion that goes along with it, a bodily motion. You can modify the motion, of course, to fit your own body's needs and what feels good to you. And you also can come up with an entirely new motion if you want. You don't have to follow exactly what I do. In fact, my motions are adapted. So you can make whatever motion captures the spirit of the word for you. We'll do the body prayer 4 times. The first time, I'm going to tell you the word, describe what it means, and show you the motion, and you can follow along with that. Then I'm going to give you a pause because you might find after the first time that you want to change your position. If you're sitting down, you might decide to stand up. If you're sitting down at home, you might decide to stand up or lay down. You could want to change. You might sit down if you're standing. And then we'll do it a second time with me saying the word and a briefer description of the word and doing the motion. And the third time, we'll do just the word. And then the fourth time, just the motions. Okay? Third time, motion and word, but no description. So we're going to begin awaiting. This is my motion for awaiting. We await all of those things that our heart needs for care, compassion, joy, hope, peace. And then this is my motion for allow. We're going to allow those things, allow our awareness of those things to grow. And also our awareness of the things that we are not yet receiving. We're going to accept into our hearts those things we are receiving as gifts. And we're going to attend to our part in the greater community, in tending to the hearts of those around us. Okay, if you want to switch positions, you can switch positions. You can stand up if you want to. Everybody has seen this. You can stay where you are. Whatever you want. We're going to await the things that our hearts need. Allow our awareness to grow. Accept as gifts all the things that meets our heart's needs. And attend to our part in the community. Await. Allow. Accept. Attend. We'll begin and end the silent meditation with the sound of a bell.
Let's continue in this state of reflection. And thank you, Sierra Marie. As we sing together our hymn of reflection, it's number 391 in the gray hymnal, but the words will also be here on the screen. Voice, still and small. Perhaps it is that voice that awaits and allows and accepts. And I have my motion, but and attends. 391, voice, still and small.
Still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing, calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
This is the time in our service for our offering. Having come off of our wildly successful auction and thinking about the upcoming pledge drive, I note that NPR has pledge drives 4 or 5, 6 times a year, and we only do it once. But what we do weekly is pass the plate. So we ask that you give generously to this community that we love. Those of you who are here for the first time, please pass the plate, either virtually or in person. And those of you who can, please donate generously. You can use the QR code on the screen, or you can send a check to the office at 24 Clapboard Ridge Road. Thank you.
Going to invite the ushers to go ahead and begin passing the plate, because I want to give you just a little bit of introduction to something that you are going to see on the screen. I was so excited this week. There is an Israeli musical duo. They live in rural northern Israel. Their musical name is Yonina, which is a combination of their names, Yoni and Nina. So Yoni and Nina Tokayer have this musical group, and I've been following them because I've been so touched and inspired by their music. And they make beautiful music. This is not going to be beautiful. This is going to go with our celebration and observation and reflection on Purim. So it's fun and it's silly. But I had asked them for permission to play the video. So here I am emailing them in Israel. And it took a while, but I heard back, and I want to share with you the email that I received from Nina. Hi, Reverend Kathleen. Thank you so much for reaching out and for following our music. Yes, of course, you are more than welcome to use our video. I am so glad to hear that you will be sharing the Purim story. It sounds like you are part of a very unique congregation. It sounds as though your people are on a very unique spiritual path. We wish you and your community in Danbury, Connecticut, all the best. Wishing you a happy Purim. Nina. This song is Misha, Misha. So you will see it's talking about Adar, when that month on the Jewish calendar comes into being, that's when we increase our joy. So here is Misha, Misha.
Misha, 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 נכנס אדר. Misha, 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 נכנס אדר. Misha, נכנס אדר, מרבים בשמחה. Misha, נכנס אדר, מרבים בשמחה. Misha, 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 Misha,
Well, you get the idea. And so, aren't we so grateful to have new friends in Northern Israel, Yoni and Nina? And I hope that we will be able to connect with them again. But how wonderful to have blessings and good wishes from them on this day. And that brings us into what this Sunday is all about, which is an interesting way for Unitarian Universalists to look at this story that comes out of the Jewish tradition. And I just want to give you just a teeny little bit of intro before we have Sally Mandler come and actually read the story for us. And we're so grateful. Sally was so wonderful that we could consult with her on this service, that we could get ideas from her, find out what was appropriate, what wasn't, and then to have her to read the story is it really means a lot. And I thank you for that. So I just want to tell you, especially for maybe some of the younger people who are here, to just remember this is an old story. This is an ancient story. And sometimes with ancient stories, there are things where we might want to say nonsense, right? I mean, this arranged marriage kind of thing, like where you don't get to pick who you want to spend your life with. It's chosen for you. And I personally would say nonsense. But even stories that may seem to have nonsense things in them, there are lessons to be learned. And because they are part of these rich traditions, we listen to the story. We listen to the whole story, not just those pieces. And so I just want you to remember that today and to listen. You will be participating. And once Sally explains that, we're going to work on getting characters up here and some noisemakers for you. But I'm going to ask you to listen to the story fully with your open heart. Sally?
Okay, this is the Purim story, and it's an abridged version, what my family and I read to our kids. This story comes from the book of Esther in what Christians call the Old Testament and what Jews just call the Bible, or Hebrew Bible. It was initially written on a scroll. The word for which in Yiddish is Megillah. And every year at Purim, we read the whole Megillah. I'm going to read this shorter version in a minute, but first I need to tell you this. When the name of the bad guy is said, everyone listening is supposed to make noise. You can stamp your feet, boo, hiss. Reverend Kathleen has noisemakers. I have a kazoo. And we'll do that every time you hear the name Haman. So much for the kazoo. It worked at home. Anyway, so are you ready for read the short Megillah? Okay. Once upon a time, about 2,500 years ago, in a town called Shushan in the land of Persia, there lived a man called Mordecai. Yay, Mordecai. Well, would you join me? Oh, you're Mordecai. Okay, please join. Okay. Mordecai was a very good man and always tried to help people and do the right thing. Mordecai lived with his niece Esther. Come on up, Esther. And they were Jewish. Esther was her Persian name. Her Hebrew name is Hadassah, just like my name is Sally in English, but my Hebrew name is Shoshana. In that same town of Shushan, there was a king named Ahasuerus, played by the lovely Joanne Davidson. He lived in a big palace and had lots of money, but he was a bit lonely. His wife, Queen Vashti, was very beautiful, and to my mind, she was an early feminist, which I'll explain in a minute. The king ordered the queen to serve a lavish dinner and dance before his guests. Belly dancing, maybe? Vashti refused, and she suffered the consequences. The king decided he needed a new queen to come and live with him in the palace. In order to choose his new queen, he held a beauty contest. Eventually, he decided the one person he liked most of all was Esther, who was not only pretty, but she was also very kind and smart. So Esther Hadassah said goodbye to her uncle Mordechai. And she went to live in the palace and become queen. Esther's cousin told her not to tell the cousin she was Jewish because it was dangerous at that time to be a practicing Jew in Persia. By the way, Persia is what is now called Iran. Still a not great place for Jews or, for that matter, girls. Just this week, there was a poisoning at a number of schools in Iran. Anyway, there was a man who worked with the king as his prime minister, and he was not very nice. I didn't even say his name yet. His name was Haman. And he expected everyone to do exactly what he said and to bow down to him when they saw him. And he got really angry if someone didn't do exactly what he wanted. One day, Haman met Mordechai on the street. Mordechai did not bow down to Haman because Jews don't bow down or kneel to anybody. Haman became angry. He went to the king and said, what did he say? There are some people in your kingdom who do things differently from other people, and I think we should get rid of them. The king didn't really know what Haman was talking about, but he said, okay, you are my trusted advisor. Do what you think is best. What Haman wanted to do was to get rid of all the Jews. Now remember, the king didn't know that Esther was Jewish. When the Jews heard that Haman planned to get rid of them, they were very upset and sad, and they organized. They liked living in the kingdom. What could they do? Mordechai sent a message to Esther at the palace, and the message said, Esther, we need your help. That nasty Haman wants to get rid of us all. Please talk to the king and ask him to stop Haman. Esther thought, I must be very brave. I must step up for my community. So she made a special dinner for the king with all his favorite foods. Then she invited the king and Haman to come and have dinner with her. The king thought dinner was delicious, and he was so happy that after he finished eating, he said to Esther, what can I do for you to say thank you? Esther said, oh, please, I need you to help me and my uncle Mordechai and all my people, the Jewish people, because someone wants to get rid of us. That is terrible, said the king, because he loved Esther and couldn't believe someone would cause such trouble. Who wants to get rid of your family and your people? Esther pointed and said, it's him, Haman. He wants to get rid of us. Oh no, said the king, and he was very angry indeed. He called his guards and said, take Haman away and get rid of him. Good job. Then the king asked Mordechai to come and work at the palace and do Haman's job. Haman's job? Okay. Mordechai was a much nicer prime minister than Haman. He made sure that people of all traditions felt safe and secure in the kingdom. Thank you. This ends the Megillah reading, but I have a few more things to tell you about the holiday. We celebrate Purim today by dressing up in costumes of the characters in the story, giving to charities, that's called tzedakah, and having carnivals. When I was much, much younger, my parents' synagogue had a carnival each year. And one year when I was about 8, I tossed a ping pong ball into a bowl and I won a goldfish. My parents were sure I couldn't keep the thing alive for long, but Goldie lived 12 more years. A record. And guess who took care of it when I was in college? Mom and Dad. The other thing we do at Purim is eat Hamantaschen. Why it's not called Hamantaschen, I don't know. But they are delicious fruit-filled cookies in the shape of Haman's three-cornered hat. And we have some here today for coffee hour. Also, when I was about 3 years old, we had a costume contest, see who was the best whatever. I didn't win, but I loved the Hamantaschen, and I smeared all the fruit-filled filling all over my face, and I was promptly crowned Miss Hamantaschen. So my claim to fame at 3 years old. It's been downhill since. The final thing I remember doing was we sang this little ditty, and if you'll bear with me, I'll give it a try. Maybe Nancy can join with me. Oh, once there was a wicked, wicked man. Oh, I sing it low. You probably sing it high.
No, I can be in for a minute.
Okay. I just have, we'll just inflict one verse on you. Oh, and the word nosh, it means to snack or to eat. Okay? Oh, once there was a wicked, wicked man, and Haman was his name. Oh, he would have murdered all the Jews, though they were not to blame. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be, and nosh some Hamantaschen.
Thank you, Nancy, for jumping right up there. Thank you, Solly. Thank you for all of the players. Thank you to all of you for participating in that. Some of you will see that I titled this message in the service, A Story of Unity. And I know that probably for some who are familiar with Purim, that is not a word that they would think. But this is what I'm taking from it as a Unitarian Universalist. That for us, there is a message there to unite with those that are oppressed, to join in the struggle, to make sure that indeed we are considering those who are marginalized and those who would need our support. And one of the other exciting things, aside from getting the email from my new friends in Israel, is that I met a local rabbi right down the street here on Clapboard Ridge just last week, and spoke with Rabbi Neville about a plan that she has to form a Clapboard Ridge clergy group, so that all of these religious communities right here on Clapboard Ridge, all of the leaders of those communities would come together. Why? To unify, to come together, seeing each other as a neighbor, and stepping up to be neighbors to one another. And I know that this has been a dream for some past clergy here in this congregation for a very long time. So to see Rabbi Neville stepping up and wanting to do that and having a conversation with her was wonderful. So I asked her if she would speak to you for just a moment about what she thought a lesson could be for someone who was not Jewish, but who wanted to look at this Purim story and take something from it that we might take and use in our own lives. And so I interviewed her, and I would share that with you at this time.
So I want to give a warm welcome to Rabbi Neville, my new friend and colleague. We just didn't know much about each other, but I want Rabbi Neville to just tell us a little bit about, who you are or where it is that you serve.
Hi, I am right here on Clapwood Ridge Road, and I serve Congregation B'nai Israel. I have been here, I came actually in 2020 during COVID, which is why we've just begun to meet. Things are beginning to normalize again. So, I serve this congregation. The congregation itself is over 120 years old, and we are hoping to be around for another 120 years.
That's wonderful. And as you may or may not know, so we've been around for 200 years. So we have this lengthy traditions really in Danbury in common, which is wonderful. So I had spoken to you briefly before this. to let you know that we were taking a look at the story and the lessons that Purim might offer to us as Unitarian Universalists. We draw from a wide variety of sources, and we think it's really important to listen to the stories of all people and to take the lessons we can into our own lives to live out according to our principles. So I'm hoping that you might help us just a bit today as the leader of the synagogue that's right down the street. So you are our neighbor. What lesson is there in Purim that those of us who are not Jewish, or maybe who currently are not observing the traditions in the Jewish faith, what lessons can we take from this story?
And I'm glad that you used the word neighbor, because that's exactly what we're talking about in a bigger sense. The holiday of Purim contains a character, as I'm sure you know by now, called Haman or Haman, who is considered the one of the quintessential anti-Semites, an archetype of a person who basically hates another person for personal reasons and then generalizes that hate to an entire group of people and then orders the violence against that entire group of people. So for whatever occurred in the private life became an issue that once that person gained power and control and had ego issues, those things took on a life of their own and ended with the order for the destruction of the Jews of that of Shushan Purim, of Persia. So how we celebrate Purim, what we do in we have what's called 4 mitzvot, 4 commandments of Purim. Many holidays have a lot more things, rituals and traditions, but Purim has only 4. That one, hear the Megillah, hear each and every word of the story of Purim read from the scroll, to give tzedakah, which loosely translated is charity, but it's more than that. And 3, to exchange gifts of food. And 4, to have a Purim Seudah, a Purim festive meal. And thanks to a colleague of mine, Rabbi Stephanie Dickstein, who was also a friend of mine, her way of looking at these, and I'm going to paraphrase it now, is that it's a response to trauma. And any trauma, it can be anti-Semitism, it can be racism, it can be bullying, it could be anything at all. These 4 things actually work not only in the specific, which is how we celebrate Purim, but in the general when dealing with the outside community, either dealing with anti-Semitism or any other kind of thing. So reading the Megillah basically means, for generalization, to stop and to listen to the story that's being told to you about the harm that's done. To really listen. When we listen to the Megillah, we're not, only time we make noises when we hear Haman's name, we try to drown it out. But other than that, we have to hear every single word. And I think that's important when dealing with any other kind of trauma as well. When a person's talking to you and you hear every single word and you validate by just simply listening. And then the giving tzedakah, or taking care of those around us, again, to provide, the community can provide support and healing for anybody else in any kind of a traumatic situation. And that's really what tzedakah is. It's taking care, either through time and or money, the people around you who are suffering. And so that would be the second way we can generalize the lessons of Purim. And then exchanging gifts of food really means to nurture and to sustain those who live nearby who are suffering. And that's part of the reason why this clergy group, I think, is really important. I'll come back to that in a sec. Because lastly is to have a meal or to break bread or to spend time with your neighbors so that you get to know them and you understand what's happening, and you can really at that point assess the situation, swap stories, have humor. And when you sit down at a meal and you like to, you exchange things, those are all healing things. So to plug the Clergy Association for just a second, When I first came here and I came down this road and I saw all these churches on one road and one synagogue, I was excited for some kind of camaraderie, because for just these very reasons, that when something happens in the community, we should be there for each other. And then I come to find, then COVID made it difficult to even make contact. And now I was able to talk to every single church except for one that I can't find a way to reach on this road, and a couple who are on Main Street as well. And nobody knew anybody. Nobody knew anybody, and nobody heard of any, nobody knew the clergy, nobody knew that. And I said, this has to change, because we live in a world where we need each other's support for so many things. And so we can take this lesson of Purim, and you can, for all of you listening, all congregants of your wonderful clergy person here who is very excited to participate, we are forming a group to do just that, so that we can support each other's communities and be there in times of need and in regular times. But we can do tzedakah, and we can have a meal, and we can share programming, and we can listen to each other's stories, and certainly we can nurture and sustain each other.
Thank you so much. It's a hopeful message. And we were I was looking at this and sharing with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury, that we can look at this as a possibility for unity, to coming together, to unifying together and being together in community. And that's exactly what you have shared. So from all of us at UUCD, to your wonderful synagogue and congregation, to you and your family, we wish you a very happy Purim. And thank you so much for being with us, Rabbi Nebel.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I hope to see everybody in person soon.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think this is wonderful. It's wonderful news for us, for the synagogue, for all of the religious communities here. There is potential. There's potential for us to work together and come together. And what a better way to celebrate than being here together and sharing a story from the Jewish tradition. I invite you to now prepare for extinguishing the chalice. And I think, Marjorie, are you going to come in and extinguish the chalice for us? As I don't know if we have. I'm going to let you blow it out. And Sally will come and lead us in the extinguishing words.
Please join me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
Let's rise in body or spirit as you are able one last time as we sing our hymn of celebration, number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive. remain standing as we come to our closing words. And Sally, if you would join Sierra Marie and I. For millennia, people have gathered together to hear stories.
To root for the underdog.
To jeer the evil and the unkind.
We see in stories mirrors to our own lives.
Today we gathered for a story,
And for cheering and jeering.
for hope and for justice.
So go forth with the ancient story of Esther offering inspiration, and know that we are connected.
Connected to millions of listeners who have come before us.
And millions of listeners who will come after us.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Salam.
Salam.
Amen.
Amen.
Blessed be to each and all. Namaste.
Namaste.
We invite you, if you're online, I think you can maybe stick around. There might be a breakout group for you to speak with others who are there online. I hope maybe you'll find some hamantaschen somewhere. I found mine at Stop and Shop. So maybe you can find some and enjoy that. For those who are here, please stick around for a while and greet one another again. Continue that time. We have hamantaschen and we have little coffee cakes and we have gluten-free Oreos. So we have something for everyone. We want you to have just a little sweet today to celebrate this time that we've been
And
together.
buy some Girl Scout cookies.
And we will have Girl Scout cookies for sale. So thank you. I do too. I do too. It was fun, right? I wish I could find a sniffer. I know. Well,
It moves
we
around.
need a bigger, that's so tiny.
Yeah, let's see if I can find one that handle.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Misha, 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 Misha,